Hey guys, EMA here, and welcome back to another episode of Demands. On this episode, I'll be talking about plane class changes and static AA. So for starters, before I actually go into the demands, I'm going to be talking about the three different plane classes. So the regular plane that is in the game, I'd say should be the multi-role, and then I'm going to talk about air-to-air planes, and then I'm going to be talking about air-to-ground. So when I say multi-role, I'm referring to Yak, the Lightning, and the 109. Demand number 11. Multi-role plane class changes. So starting it off, side demand 1, pilot class should be raised to the rank of lieutenant. I find it's way too easy to get to a pilot. It's like the first or second class you unlock. So it just anybody can just grab a plane and jump into war matches and just waste generals plane squads. So it really needs to be raised, and like especially it's a plane. It's like the most powerful vehicle in the game. So I don't understand why you can get it so quickly. Okay, so side demand 2, HE should not be able to kill a pilot in the cockpit of their plane. It's just way too easy to take out other planes with HE. There's like little to no skill, especially for those that have their main cannon on the nose of the plane. The BF-109, yeah, sure, you have to aim a little bit, but it's still a little too easy to kill an enemy with HE. It's way too easy. Side demand 3, pilots should not be able to use AT nades. A pilot or a plane can pretty much do everything in the game. There's no reason for a pilot to have anti-tank nades. I mean, if unless he really wanted to be a douchebag and just like fly straight to a tank when his ammo ran out and bail out and start throwing drumsticks on that thing. A pilot shouldn't have 18 nades. They don't need it. Same thing for the next demand here, or side demand here, number 4. Pilots should not be able to use an SMG. They really only need a pistol and a wrench, or they really only should have a pistol and a wrench. A pilot with an SMG is merely a paratrooper that can fly his plane to the objective. there's no reason for him to have an SMG. The next side demand here, BF-109's guns should change places. Like, instead of the special secondary cannon coming out of the wings, it should come out of the nose. So that this will hopefully make 109 players not all use HE. Like, most of them use HE because APCR just isn't useful enough. But then again, if you think about it, I don't know, maybe, like, considering that you only have so much ammo with the secondary special cannon, maybe having it come out of the wings isn't such a bad thing, considering you have 2,000 rounds of your main cannon. Next side demand here, so kind of leading over to the same thing with 18As and SMG, uh, downsides, a pilot's inventory should be less. It should be 4 instead of 6. Like, it's basically the same amount of space as you would have if you were a tanker. But considering there's less space in a plane compared to a tank, you should have less inventory space. So, and you don't even need those extra two inventory spaces. As for a pilot, you only really need a pistol and a wrench, as I've said before. Next thing here, all bombs dropped should give you a temporary speed boost. So, like, if you decrease the amount of weight and I guess you could say drag from the bombs, then this should give your plane like a small, teeny uh, speed boost, like 5 to 7%, so you can get a little bit better of an edge over your enemies. Alright, so going on to the next one, we got customization for your plane. So nothing really major, just like something that you'd kind of want to be able to do to your plane, like put a paint job on it or even put a logo on it, even your own number per se. Something pretty simple. Uh, Something pretty simple. Nothing too dramatic. Oh, the next one was kind of like a kill count. So you may not be able to see it, but like on the picture of the yak in the background, it's got like little stars of like how many kills the plane has gotten. So pretty much the way I think it should be is like you should get, you know, for every kill you get like a star or a cross until your plane dies in that match. And then, it just restarts next time you spawn. There should also be more badges, like another badge for like maneuverability, another badge for speed for planes, and then another badge to kind of bring that more ammo badge like before, except this time be different for like multi-role. Just be like the specialized ammo gets more ammo capacity. For the air to ground plane, it would be more bombs, and obviously for the air to air, just be more regular ammo. And the final side demand here is that, the multi-role should be your starter plane. And to unlock the air to air, it should be unlocked through the dogfighting badge. And for the air to ground plane, it should be unlocked through the tactical bomber badge, and they should be about gold 1 per se. Demand number 12, air to air plane class. So starting off with the American plane here, you got the P-51 Mustang, you got 6 50 caliber machine guns, which are, 3 are mounted on one wing, 3 are mounted on the exact opposite side. So it might be a little harder to hit your enemy, but at least you got 6 machine guns in total. This plane can move at 703 kilometers per hour or 437 miles per hour. Going on to the FW-190 or Fokker-Wulf 190, you have 2 13mm machine guns and 2 20mm cannons. The machine guns are mounted in the nose, and 20mm are in the wing roots, which are pretty much very close to the nose, so it's all pretty centered. It moves at 685 kilometers per hour max, or 426 miles per hour. And for the last one, you have the MiG-3. I mean, it doesn't have as many guns or as good as guns as the other three, but this is kind of like the only really good kind of choice. So you got one 12.7 in the you got one 12.7 and two 7.63 machine guns. They're mounted over the nose and engine, so pretty much in the in front of the pilot, just in the nose there. It moves at 640 kph max or 398 miles per hour. So the overview, it should add like a whole new dimension to air battles. It should be a plane that primarily combats other planes by using its superior advantages of speed and maneuverability to win dogfights. It should be faster than other planes by say 15 to 20%, and maybe quicker turning rate by 7 to 10, or maybe 7 to 15 even. Uh, it should have a decent ammo stock, so you're not running out very quickly. You should have like a lot more ammo than the multi-role as far as your main cannon. Yeah, it should also have better climb rate, so it can pretty much outmaneuver any plane in that sense. Planes with two different types of cannons will be fired as if they have one type of cannon and only one type of cannon. So like the 190, for instance, has 20 millimeters and 13 millimeters. They should be fired as if they're just the exact same cannon, and but they should still have their damage outputs. They should still be able to do the damage that's intended for the two different cannons. Also, the reload should start when one type of cannon is empty. So, the 20 millimeters out of ammo, it should start the reload instead of both types run out of ammo. Now, these planes should only really be capable of fighting other planes, though, with regular AP. They shouldn't really be able to pen anything that's on the ground, like a medium tank or even a light tank. And also, it shouldn't have HE, so it can't also get the benefit of shooting infantry on the ground. Like, you can still shoot infantry on the ground, just you won't be able to, rape them with a high explosive. Demand number 13, air to ground plane class. So the first two choices here should be pretty obvious. Starting off with the German one, you got the Ju-87 or Stuka. It has two 7.92 machine guns or two 20 millimeters, which I think it should have. So you got two 20 mils. For its anti-tank weapons, you have a few different choices. You got either two 37 millimeter cannons, one 4,000-pound bomb, or one 1,500-pound bomb, and four 100-pound bombs to go along with it. It can move at 410 kph or 255 miles per hour, and its tail gunner is a dual 7.92 set of MGs. Moving on to the other plane, the Russian IL-2, it has either two 20mm cannons or two 23mm cannons, which is awesome. Again, more anti-tank weapons. You got four 132mm rockets, which would be kind of interesting to see in the game, or eight 82mm rockets, or the usual four 220-pound bombs. It moves at 404 kph or 251 mph, and its tail gunner is 150 caliber machine gun. Now moving on to the American planes, I wasn't really sure about the American plane, so I kind of researched up two different planes. The first one definitely is kind of too powerful, but I'm gonna go over it anyway. So the first one, you got the P-61 Black Widow. You got four 20mm cannons, four 1,600-pound bombs as your AT weapon, 589 kilometers per hour, 366 miles per hour, and the gunner is a dorsal turret with quad 50 cals. Like, basically a flying AA with a bunch of payload. So, yeah, you can see why the first plane wouldn't be the best choice. So, if we look at the second plane, the better choice for the game is the Vengeance. You got 650 cals, pretty much the exact same kind of setup as the Mustang, except you get two 250-pound bombs and two 550-pound bombs, so you got two different sets of bombs with the one plane, and you can use them at the same time if you wanted. Its speed is 449 kph or 279 miles per hour, and its tail gunner is 150 cal, just like the IL-2. So going on to the overview, it, you know, it adds this more specialized plane into the Air Force. You know, it's equipped with bigger payload for killing ground targets, and has a tail gunner, unlike the other two planes. And it should have more HP, because I'm going to go into that in a moment, but it should have more HP compared to the other planes as well. So this thing can't really maneuver as well compared to the other planes, and should be slower. So that's where the HP kind of comes in handy. Its main cannons should have very limited ammo, so you're not going to have a huge stack of 2,000 rounds like a multi-roll. You're only going to have like the specialized ammo, which would be like 200 rounds. So you're going to be resupplying pretty much every few moments of flight. This plane shouldn't be able to climb as well, so it'd be really terrible to go up against a air-to-air type. And it should have, well, and if you really wanted, you could have a second person, but I mean, it's really up to you. But I think it'd be kind of cool and handy to have an extra person to kind of cover your back. Over other planes, this plane should be able to resupply faster, considering you're going to have lots of times where you're not going to have any ammo to do your job. You're just going to be a flying metal box not doing anything. So that's where, you know, the 15 to 25% faster plus the additional, you know, badge resupply would come in handy. Demand 14. Tier 1 and 3 static defenses. So for the first set of static defenses, it'd be the tier 1s. You got, the Germans got one 20mm cannon, which is on a platform, or one MG34 on a tripod, and the final one, which is dual MG34s or two MG42s on a platform. Probably would lean towards more of the tripod though, even though it is only an MG34. But we'll see what the next one's all about, and I'll tell you why. So for the next set, you got one 50 caliber on a tripod for the Americans, and it's pretty much the same thing for the Russians, except it's a .55 caliber on a tripod. And if you didn't know or you've never seen this before, it's this weapon is called the DSHK HMG or Dishka Heavy Machine Gun. It's pretty cool. Moving on to the tier 3 choices, you got the American M1. It's a 137mm anti-air gun platform, which could also be equipped with dual 50 cals, but for this game, it would just be the 137 because you don't want things to be too overpowered. For the Russians, you got the 61-K, which is 137mm AA gun platform. Pretty much the exact same thing as the American one. Moving on to the German one, you got the Flak 36. It's 137mm, same thing again, platform, yada yada. But there was one other one. The US and Soviet instead could just get the Bofors, which is a single 40mm AA gun platform, so slightly bigger than the regular uh, gun, but honestly, you want things to be more faction specific, not some just general AA gun. So for the overview, for the AAs, it just simply should be more AAs to replace certain AA positions on some maps, and hopefully even create some more ideas for places for static AA placements. So, Tier 1 AA, lighter single machine gun, or even dual machine gun, whatever AA, it's just as should be effective as an LMG, a handheld LMG, but a bit better because it's on a tripod or on a fixed position. Uh, it should be able to double up as an anti-infantry weapon as well. So if you're using tripod MG, you should be able to shoot targets on the ground. Of course, it's going to be a smaller AA that can be stuck in places like on top of a roof, for instance. So say, for instance, the O2 capture zone at the airfield map, you could just stick the tripod AA on top of that building. It'd just be easy access for an AA for an infantry. Places like that. Uh, Even the church tower and the town map would be a good instance. Instead of having the regular AA, you could have tripod AA. So, it's not the best AA for it has drawbacks. No protection, not as much pen, less range, less HP, stuff like that. So going on to the tier 3, it's a heavy AA that can effectively and quickly put damage into an incoming or passing plane and should be much more reliable than a tier 1 and a tier 2 even as far as putting damage into the plane. So better damage, range, even shell velocity, and could be in places a little more remote or like unconventional, like instead of in a place where you'd see a regular AA. So, but it should have lower ammo count, it should be more out in the open, should have a longer respawn time, there should be very few of this. There should be only like two or three on like one map, and planes will probably want to target this because this is like a main AA. People want to jump on the tier 3 opposed to the other tiers, so planes are going to get rid of this one first. And since it should be a little out of the way compared to a conventional AA, it should be maybe a bit closer to like an enemy main spawn instead of the city. Demand 15. More AA vehicle mentions. So I'm just going to quickly go through this one, just like what I did with the static AA. This is just kind of more like a mentions type of thing. So for the Americans, we can start off with the M15A1 half track. It's got a 37mm autocannon and two 50 cals. It has a concealed turret, so the crew is protected, which is actually kind of awesome. So you got, you know, half track, which is kind of decently armored, and a turreted multi-gun weapon. Uh, Next, you got Gaz AAA with a Dishka, just basically a 50 cal on the back of a exposed flatbed truck, which wouldn't be that effective, but it'd just be an interesting thing to see in the game, opposed to like the regular quad AAs you'd see. Then the next one, Gaz AAA's with the Zeiss 12, which is much more powerful. It's got two 25mm cannons, but again has an exposed flatbed. Now for the more interesting AAs, starting off for the Germans, you got the Auswind, which is a tank with a 37mm autocannon on a Panzer IV chassis, and of course it's very well protected, which is superb in most respects. For the Russians, you got a tank here that's the ZSU 37, has one 37mm, and I believe it's on the chassis of the T-70, so it should be pretty nimble, but not very armored. And then for the final mention, you got the Vilbewind, has four 20mm, basically a flak furling on a Panzer IV chassis. So again, just like the Elswind, you know, pretty well protected, decent armor, and cruise protected. And for the final overview, uh, simply more tanks, trucks, half tracks for the AA role. It would kind of help to have a competent AA vehicle than just using, you know, like a regular truck, for instance, that had just a regular quad machine gun AA, so you can hunt down planes. But this probably wouldn't be very necessary because of all the extra things you can do with planes, since, you know, there's going to be, like, say, an air-to-air type of plane, which would be a much more effective counter than a ground vehicle. But it also kind of helps to have that ground uh, air attack vehicle. So these AA vehicles wouldn't really be super useful, but they could still have their moments. The AA vehicles, they should be late unlocks, like, say, like the final ranks, you know, AA trucks, driver gold 3 or 4, AA tanks, armor assault gold 3 or 4, just kind of like with the current AA vehicles. Side demand, regular tanks should be able to not take down planes, because pretty much every tank in the game has the capability of shooting a plane, but some better than others, which isn't exactly fair. They should really only be used for anti-tank purposes, just like AA vehicles should only be used for anti-air purposes. But, another side of man, some tanks that were upgraded with an MG installment should get an MG installment for a little extra AA. So, say the commander can peek out of his tank and use like an MG42 or a 34 on a Panzer IV. Same thing with like an Easy 8. You kind of peek out. You got a 50 cal. You can use it to shoot planes. Things like that. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you like the ideas, or if not, leave a comment. Type what you think, what you would like to change, and maybe even type in something else not related to planes, so it would be like an idea I could probably use in a later video. So, anyway, see you on the next episode.